If everyone would like to have a seat, we're going to get started here in a second. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Erica Crouch, Outreach Coordinator for Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski Jr.'s Office of Community Engagement. It is a pleasure to welcome all of you here for our 6th Budget Town Hall series. Having open and honest conversations with the people of Baltimore County about their budget priorities sustains our commitment to the accessible and responsive government that our residents deserve. We strive to build a better Baltimore County together by focusing on sustainable and equitable opportunities for all. Our budget determines our priorities and aspirations for the upcoming year, and we're proud to continue holding conversations with our residents so they can remain an essential part of the process. Before we begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Sudbrook Magnet Middle School and Principal Gordon Webb for their hospitality and for hosting this evening's town hall. Principal Webb, if you would like to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, that's about 4 of you. Let's try that again. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ms. Crouch, for the introduction. I would like to welcome County Executive Olszewski for being here and having it at Sudbrook Magnet Middle School, the best middle school in the county. Also to your office and other county members that are here. And as it was stated, I would like to thank all of you for coming out. As it was stated that it's vital to have community input on budget priorities, and I'm hoping that another Sudbrook Magnet Middle School will be built with this budget. That's a joke. But in all seriousness, I'm hoping that you will have your voice heard, and that's the purpose of having this, but you providing your input because you are the community, and that partnership with the county, you as the voice of reason, voice of what you need for your success here in Baltimore County is very needed. So again, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again at some point. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Tonight, we'll begin our fiscal year 2025 budget discussions here in District 2, hosted by your County Executive, Johnny Olszewski Jr., and your Council Chair, Izzy Patoka. After the County Executive's budget presentation, our residents will have an opportunity to share their budget-related priorities within the allotted time of 90 seconds at one of the designated microphones located here in front of the auditorium. The County Executive, department heads, and Councilman Patoka will listen to your inquiries, concerns, and ideas. If we cannot answer a question tonight, we will have a coordinator from the Office of Community Engagement or designated department representative to follow up with you. Tonight's town hall will conclude by 8:30 p.m. Those unable to provide their testimony in person by 8:30 p.m. may still submit requests for consideration by emailing townhall@baltimorecountymd.gov. If you have come with a group, we ask that you please designate one spokesperson to share your group's budget priority. Group members may stand in support when your priority is being shared. If you have already heard the same budget priorities shared tonight, we ask that you defer your time so that we can hear as many priorities as possible. And now, it is my honor to welcome your Council Chair, Izzy Patoka.
Thank you, Erica. Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to the beautiful 2nd District of Baltimore County, and it's beautiful because of everybody here. You can just look around you and you see what gives our district, the place we live, its great beauty and the energy, because everybody in this room, Mr. County Executive, is a community warrior that fights for their neighborhood and their community. It's really great to be on this stage. I haven't been on this stage in a long, long time. In fact, the last time I was on the stage, I was right over here by the flag, and I was in a production called the HMS Pinafore. I was in middle school. I was in the chorus, and my buds were sitting over here. I think one of them is here, Rick Naden, and they were throwing pennies at me while I was trying to do my lines. But that was a long time ago, and now we're back here. But let's see who we have in the house. So I'm going to try to call you out, and if you hear yourself, let's make some noise. So do we have anybody from Powhatan in the house? All right, you guys heard Powhatan, so I'm going to call it the next neighborhood. Anybody from Ralston in the house? Yeah. All right, Ralston. Villanova. Yeah. Robin Hill. Okay, go Robin Hill. Pikesville. Anybody here from Ruxton? Gwindale. All right. Gwyn Oak. Owings Mills. This is fun. Seton Hill. Anybody from Seton Hill? All right, Seton Hill representing. Sudbrook. Sudbrook Park. Yeah, ooh. Colonial Village. Small but mighty, Colonial Village. Williamsburg. Okay, they'll make some noise at the next community meeting with them. Stevenson. All right. Summit Chase. Okay, they'll make some noise. Pine Ridge. Hey. Valley Brook. County Executive, you know that you resurfaced all of the streets in Valley Brook, so that's why they're not here today, because their streets are all resurfaced. Dumbarton. Okay. The place where I grew up, Lochern. Woohoo, I'll represent Lochern. Huntington, Rick Naden, Huntington. All right, there you go. Greystone. Carrie. Velvet Valley. And last but not least, and this could be a Rick Naden again, Worthington Park. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, thank you all. Did I miss anybody? Lutherville. Oh, Paul's Crossing. Okay, great. Paul's Crossing is a great neighborhood. So great to see everybody here. Let me just give everyone a hand. Let me quickly introduce my staff, my team members. I think everybody knows Justin Silberman, but Justin Silberman handles. And we also have Carlos Gonzalez here. Carlos, stand up. And we have two new team members. We have Justin Evans. Justin, go ahead and stand up. So when Justin Evans and Justin Silberman are working together, we call it Justin Squared. Okay, I'll work on my jokes. And we have a new member. She's not able to be here tonight, but many of you will meet her. Her name is Karis Kingeter. And so it's a really outstanding team. We've got outstanding neighborhoods. We've worked on micro and macro projects together, some of the big projects that we've worked on together, and thank you, County Executive, for supporting these. The Pikesville Armory, certainly really important to the community. Paul's Farm Park is going to be a dynamo for Paul's Crossing, for Villanova, for Williamsburg and Willow Glen South. The Church Lane Park, really critical, Pocket Park. Valley Brook Streets, thank you, County Executive. Gwyn Oak Park Playground. The Woodlawn Senior Center is going to be outstanding very, very soon. Yeah, there we go. We've got two new elementary schools online, Sudbrook, Summit Park Elementary School in Bedford. And then the micro, little things like Arbutus Avenue in Lochern, which really needed improvement, and the curb and gutter are done, and this spring you'll see the streets done. So all of these improvements are based on interactions you've had with myself, with the county executive. The county executive's been outstanding in responding to the needs, and so I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to take a moment to introduce outstanding county executive. He's been there for us. He'll be there for us, and you know what? He might even be there for us in a different way in the near future. So let me, without further ado, introduce our county executive, Johnny Olszewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say the fact that Izzy shouted out every single community and knew the projects both big and small, first of all, saved you about 5 minutes of my presentation tonight, which is great. But I also just wanted to thank and acknowledge Chairman Patoka for being both an incredible partner in the work that we've done. So, I know he was thanking me, but really the thanks belongs to this room. He has been a champion for amplifying the voices that you have shared with him, that you have shared with me. And I will say this, that Izzy has been someone who has joined us in making some of the hard decisions along the way so that we could have you all be part. So I just wanted to thank and acknowledge you, Councilman. Thank you. Appreciate it. Principal Webb, thank you for hosting us tonight. It is great to be in this season of budget town halls. Yet again, this has become one of my favorite things to do in this job, and I have a lot of favorite things. Before I begin with the budget presentation, I wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge the recent passing of Howard Needle, who I know was an incredible leader for this community, someone who really led the beginning of the work for the Pikesville Armory, former representative. So just wanted his memory to be acknowledged and pray that all who knew him, that his memory is a blessing. So Howard, we're thinking of you tonight. Thanks also to the Baltimore County team for being present and being here. Hopefully you had a chance to interact with some of the members of our cabinet outside. I want to thank members of the department for being present tonight. They're here to answer questions throughout the post-presentation section and also to sort of follow up with afterwards. We have an incredible team led by our County Administrative Officer, Stacy Rogers, all the way down. So thank you. Thanks to the Office of Community Engagement and Erica for you especially, but for pulling this together and being present. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the budget so that we can get to the crux of tonight, which is listening to all of you. So from the start, we knew that, okay, we're working. From the start, the whole point of having these conversations is because we believe fundamentally that government that is open, connected, and transparent is one that serves its communities better. And so that's why we have introduced not just this signature town hall series, but that we introduced and passed ethics reform early on, that collectively we closed an inherited structural deficit that was buried in a footnote. We've made record investments in our schools and parks and other critical infrastructure. We've made progress on housing attainability, sustainability. We're preserving and protecting open space. Really, this is about our community engagement team, our town halls, our open checkbook where you can see down to the check where dollars are going so that we are being responsive and open to you. Quick overview of the budget. Our budget falls into two categories. One is the operating budget. The other is the capital budget. For all of those things, on the operating side in particular, it is a $4.4 billion annual appropriation in the current fiscal year, the year that we're currently in, primarily funded by both property and income taxes. All of that money are the things that pay for the people, the programs, the pensions, the health care. And in addition, sometimes if we have extra dollars, we do what's called pay-as-you-go, which is general fund dollars that we allow to sort of like filter over into our capital budget. And our capital budget, as you will see for the next several years, is about a $3.2 billion spending plan that is primarily funded through the bonds and cash. The bonding is what you'll vote on this November. Borrowing authority that allows the county to go out and make those investments in the critical infrastructure about schools, police and fire stations, community centers, repairing our roads, et cetera. And again, those bonds are in addition to that pay-go cash. In addition to our usual budgeting process, we were lucky enough to have an infusion of support from the federal government through most recently the American Recovery and Rescue Plan, or ARPA. We were given about $160 million based on our population. A lot of that funding initially was spent on things like PPE, personal protective equipment, rapid tests, vaccination efforts. We gave additional funding to our frontline employees for their incredible work. And then over time, that has flipped more towards recovery and trying to invest in the places that we saw that were disproportionately left behind as a result of the pandemic. I'm pleased to report that 99% of that funding has been allocated, with just a few $1 million set aside for any last-minute adjustments. This money has to be allocated by the end of this current year. So by December of next year, that money all has to be allocated and out the door from Baltimore County, but we're well on our pathway for doing that. In our operating budget, education takes about 50% of all that we do. In our $5 billion budget, education gets almost $2.5 billion. This fiscal year, with the support of Chairman Patoka and other members of the County Council, we put forward in this year's current budget the largest increase of maintenance of effort by both dollar and percentage that the county has ever done in its history. So those of you know me, I'm a teacher by trade. I'm a BCPS parent by occupation currently. And maintenance of effort is actually the floor that the state says you have to spend. And actually, in this year's budget, we could have actually reduced our annual spending on the school system through changes in state law. However, instead of that, we accelerated our investments, and that has made, I think, a big difference in what we see in the classroom. That means that we have taken our teachers over the years from being middle of the pack to now being among the highest paid in the state, including the second highest starting salary in all of Maryland. It means that we've hired additional pre-K paraeducators and pre-K positions and 36 additional English as a second language teachers, and we did our first phase towards putting athletic trainers into our school buildings. This is on top of prior investments that expanded positions like pupil personnel workers and social workers and other supports in our classroom. We didn't stop at the in the building. We know that the facilities matter too. So we are currently embarking on a 13-year, what's left of our multi-year improvement plan for all schools, my IPASS. Try saying that 5 times fast. But we are supercharging our investments in partnership with the state through programs like Built to Learn, and I'm going to thank our state legislators for their support of that. But we are putting forward record dollars locally towards school construction. In District 2, Councilman Patoka really covered a lot of that. Not only are we doing new construction in community schools and maintenance systems, but we're spreading money out across the county, and you see that here in District 2. So here in District 2, as the councilman said, we have brand new schools coming both for Bedford and Summit Park, a new roof at Timber Grove, and maintenance upgrades at facilities throughout the district. We know that education doesn't stop at K-12, and so I'm a big believer in creating those opportunities and ladders for success beyond just investing in BCPS. So again, thanks to Izzy and his colleagues on the council, we've gone from just freezing in-county tuition at CCBC for 6 years in a row, which is something we're very proud of. But we've also took it a step further. And last year's budget, we basically have made near universal community college free. That means that anyone making $150,000 a year or less can go to our community college for free. And that's full-time, that's part-time, it's a workforce credential, and we know that those are the kinds of opportunities that will move us forward. If you make more than $150,000 a year, we have intentionally also frozen tuition for 6 years in a row to keep college affordable for anyone who wants to go. Our library system has been another tremendous asset for all of us, and between our schools with Dr. Rogers, who's been a tremendous partner and advocate, as well as Dr. Curtinitis at CCBC, Sonia Alcantara-Antoine, our CEO of the library system, has been a great partner. Several years ago, we made our library system fine-free. We continued that investment in our Baltimore County Public Library in addition to the critical capital investments that are needed. Education is one of our largest annual investments. Public safety is also another important investment we make every year. Our police, our fire, our sheriffs, our 911 center, our corrections. Over the past several years, we've gotten to a point where we now have historic pay increases in all of those areas, really truly modernizing those salary scales so that we can attract, recruit, and retain the best that are out there. We also, in this current budget, started a police take-home car program where if an officer is on patrol and lives within a community in Baltimore County, you may start seeing more police cars in your community as a result of this $7 million investment in partnership with the council. We're also investing in the buildings there as well. Very proud of what we've done in partnership working with Chief McCullough and his team on crime numbers and statistics. We take a holistic approach here in Baltimore County where we both invest in and support the good work of the men and women of the police department, giving them the tools, the technologies, the equipment to be successful, but also investing holistically, investing in Director Smith and Recreation and Parks, Youth Summer Works, making sure that people have opportunities to be successful, investing in places like Essex with youth violence interruption with ROCA, using data to help inform when and where we should be deploying additional resources. So very proud that we're making those investments in things like mental health and domestic violence prevention. All of those investments, collectively, we are seeing a big difference. 15% year-over-year decrease in homicides, for example, and a 47% decrease from 2021. In addition to the structural investments we talked about for our police, we also are investing significant capital for our fire department, new stations at Catonsville and Sparrows Point. Was very proud. I saw a bunch of volunteer jackets coming in, so I know that our volunteers are in the house. We went first from $1 million to $1.5 million early on in our revolving loan fund to now $1.75 million in this current year budget. In addition, we've done things like increase attendant pay. We took $1 million out of our ARPA to do grants towards our amazing volunteer companies, and we want to continue supporting the incredible work that they are doing as well. Sustainability remains a huge priority for us. Millions of dollars in shoreline stabilization. We're spending almost $6 million on the Gwynns Falls and Roaches Run Stream in Baltimore County. We have a new pilot project to try out floating wetlands in our waterways to see if that works, which I am looking forward to the data on that. Director Tablata with Department of Environmental Protection. We stood up with Director Walker and DPWT a new textile and electronic recycling programs. We are now retreeing Baltimore County in a more equitable way, going into communities that have been historically underserved and underinvested to plant more urban trees and street trees. We know that that makes air quality better, it increases health, it is aesthetically more pleasing. In eastern Baltimore County, we're eradicating midges. If you don't know what midges are, you might want to talk to Director Tablata. It's a very interesting story. And this is on top of the work on things like the bulk trash pickup that we brought back, the recycling efforts around oyster restoration. We actually partnered with the Oyster Recovery Partnership. You can now recycle oyster shells also at our landfill, believe it or not. Part of sustainability is also related to parks and recreation. So in addition to generally investing in sustainability efforts, we also very much believe in recreation investments and open space investments. This year's budget alone is over $60 million being directed to those community parks and locations across Baltimore County. Closer to home, over $2 million at Gwynn Oak Park for pavilion and parking expansion. We will have the county's first ever splash pad at Northwest Regional Park. And if you haven't been there to check out the destination playground that was sponsored in part by the Baltimore Ravens, I know that this weekend was a bit tough, but If you haven't checked out Northwest Park and that new playground, check that out as well. The councilman mentioned Paul's Farm. We have significant dollars to move forward there. Meadow Creek Park, as well as the Lake Roland Red Trail parking improvements, which were all items of feedback that we heard from our residents last year. Across the county, we're spending $5 million to renovate, replace, and construct more modern athletic fields. The county councilman mentioned playground improvements. We are doing that as well. We heard loud and clear about pickleball last year. We're trying to find more places to install pickleball, right, Director Smith? I actually played at a private field last night in Middle River for 2 hours from 8 to 10, and I think Director Riley from Aging, I think I have you to blame for that because I played with some of our seniors and have really enjoyed playing. We are launching a new Rec and Parks civic platform, which really sort of shows our constituents what is available out there. It really better connects all of our residents to the incredible amenities and assets that we have to offer. We are also in the process of doing a reimagination of Rec and Parks in partnership with national experts to make sure that we are deploying best resources. And even as we're doing that, we want to make sure that we're staying close and having conversations with the incredible individuals who have led the work at places like our nature councils and our recreation councils so that we are both complying with our local laws and regulations, that we're implementing national best practices, but we're not forgetting that we have an incredible network of local leaders who have been doing good work for a very long time. Transportation, the councilman mentioned some roads that were paved. I'm going to talk a little bit about a lot of progress we've made on transportation these past several years, but then I'm going to talk about part of why it's so hard to not be able to repave every road that we get requested to repave. We made $40 million of investment in this year's budget. We're doing that towards a lot of road resurfacing and sidewalk improvements. We're doing safety audits at places like 7 Mile and Rolling Road. I think it's supposed to be lane, not land, but that's okay. There it is. We are spending money on 7 Mile Lane, traffic calming measures on several roads, raised crosswalks, because we want to make sure that pedestrian and community and vehicle safety are at top of mind. We're also investing in our bike and ped master plan. We have hundreds of thousands of dollars to kickstart that work. We acknowledge that there is significantly more to do, but this is the first time in the county's history that this year we now have a comprehensive bike and ped program and master plan that's out there for our 119 miles of shared youth paths, our 70 miles of on-road bikeways, and our 256 miles of long-term projects. A lot of work ahead on that front. We have been very proud this year that we not only expanded our county ride services to Saturdays, it is now a free service. So if you rely on or use County Ride, that is now absolutely free to you as a resident. Our Towson Loop, which is the first ever fixed route transit service that Baltimore County has offered, has now crossed, I think it's actually closer to 200,000 riders at this point, but just really proud of the way the community has responded to that. Also free and currently at use in Towson. It is our hope to one day expand the loop, but we'll talk about some of the challenges again on doing that. We recently completed a survey of all of our roadways in Baltimore County, almost 3,000 miles, and we will continue to advocate for more equitable funding so that we can get those roads up to par. Based on that work, there's actually an estimate that it would cost approximately $400 million to get all of the county roadways up to average condition. And that's just the investments in our roads that are needed to just get us back up to average condition. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and the shortfalls in funding, which really has made our transportation efforts a little more difficult. So on things like the Towson Loop that we want to try to expand in communities across Baltimore County, we rely heavily on what's called the locally operated transit funding system, or LOTS funding. And if you look at the chart, We are about as large as Montgomery County as a jurisdiction, but they get 100 times more money than Baltimore County when it comes to their lots funding. Now, granted, there are some differences that, there's not an MTA operating in that region. However, we sort of have made the pitch to the state that this level of disparity, when you look at how much money we get relative to other large jurisdictions, it really sort of is striking as to why. For context, and Director Walker, I don't know what it is now, but I think that the loop is now $2 million annually to run? 3, okay. So I think you get the picture. We get less than $1 million in the state. That's not even enough to help maintain half of our existing fixed route service in one location. That says nothing of county-wide or expansion, so one place where we're really working with our delegation to help tell the story. The bigger thing I wanted to point out is that back in 2009, during the Great Recession, the legislature, and this is started under a Democratic governor, continued under a Republican governor, but there was a decision made to ask local governments to share a little bit of the burden to balance the budget. I mean, it was pretty bad at the time. Our current funding in 2009, or our funding in 2009 was about $45 million a year. After those changes made, Baltimore County went down to about $13.8 million annually. And that was the state contribution to not just maintain roads, but also worry about our bridges, our sidewalks, our bike, and other pedestrian pathways. So cumulatively, that difference adds up to about a $450 million loss of funding that Baltimore County has not received for transportation needs over that time. And so as transportation is sort of in the discussion with the governor and with the legislature, we're really pointing out that money, as you can see, is really just, that alone is sort of the difference between ensuring that all of our roads were just all at average or fair condition. Again, saying nothing of the other needs. We are trying our very best locally to step up to meet those needs locally, but we absolutely hope to have continued partnership to do more of that. That funding also has stayed flat as construction costs, inflation, and other needs have increased and escalated. We are also investing significant dollars in our water infrastructure. Just wanted to mention that there's nearly a $50 million project that's unseen but important in places along Seminary and Reisterstown Road, so that those dollars on the water and sewer costs are being put to work and deployed for our residents. This is less about funding, although funding certainly has played a role, and this is really about vibrant communities and listening to what you all have had given us feedback about. We heard loud and clear that we need to do more for healthcare access for our new Americans here in Baltimore County and for our immigrant community. And so in addition to having healthcare access be a focus of a new task force, we actually are looking at larger issues. And so I want to thank Juliana Valencia Banks for her leadership of convening, I think, a diverse group of individuals to lead the conversations, not just about healthcare access, but about a myriad number of issues. Your state senator, Senator Shelley Heddleman, has been a force in talking about expediting cold cases of sexual assault evidence. We recently, this year, had an announcement with GBMC, with the police department and others, that we have put forward the private and public dollars to make sure that by the end of 2024, years ahead of what prior estimates were, we finally will have cleared that backlog. And so I want to thank everyone who came to work on that. We also heard from many of you about the need to support victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. So we also have a working group on that issue to hopefully bring forward additional recommendations about what we can do collectively to advance progress. We have made historic investments in Security Square, over $30 million in state and county funding. That work is ongoing. We have acquired more than a third of that parcel and we are in the process of working with experts in the community to try to integrate and execute on what was a very robust charrette process. So we're excited about the future of that site, just as we're excited about, as Councilman Patoka said, the future of the Pikesville Armory. Again, your entire delegation have been great advocates for the Armory. Over $15 million of federal, state, and local dollars, with an additional $5 million in the governor's budget this year. We just had an incredible groundbreaking on the NCO Club, some activation, and we're excited about the future there. We haven't lost sight of our other important anchor institutions, both in Baltimore County but across the region and city. We put money this year towards the JCC, the Lerman Woodland Theater. We've invested, we doubled our investment in shock trauma. I recall very vividly my time visiting two of our incredibly brave officers, Officer Jordan and Detective Chi, through an incident this year, and we just believe that we are blessed to have shock trauma as a beacon of hope for people who are injured and who experience trauma. But we are very happy to continue making investments like institutions like the Irvine Nature Center as well in this year's budget. Seniors make up, I mentioned Director Riley and pickleball. Seniors make up 25% of our population. It's why we're continuing with No Senior Eats Alone Day, dementia-free Baltimore County, age-friendly Baltimore County. It's why we're making historic investments in our senior centers, and we'll continue working with our communities to find more ways to invest in and support our seniors. Okay. Now we're getting towards the end of that sort of the what was, and now we can talk about what will be. You may have heard Governor Moore talk about the state having a season of discipline, the need to tighten our belt. He's also said before that when the state catches a cold, local governments catch a flu. So I've always promised to be honest with you, and this year is going to be no different. I want to level set a little bit that this is going to be a little bit of a different budget as we grapple with both the decisions that the state legislature and the governor are making about funding to local governments, coupled with the ARPA dollars I mentioned earlier no longer being available to support people or programs or capital investments, and the fact that we continue to want to and need to invest in our most important resource, which is our employees. So we are seeing significant rises in things like the cost of healthcare, as I'm sure you all are feeling. We're seeing significant increases with the cost of energy and electricity. Inflation is real. It's pinching all of our families, and it's certainly impacting the county. Even projects that we started on planning and design are coming in significantly higher from people who are bidding. And so these are real challenges that we're going to have to face in the year ahead together. The county council every year completes what's called the spending affordability process, and this is applied to the operating budget. It's a legally required guideline that basically says to me as the county executive, the council says, county executive, this is the limit at which we want you to spend those operating or ongoing costs in whatever budget submission you give us. And so for perspective, we use that to tell all of our department heads, here's the limit that we're given. So please work with us as you submit your budgets for my review to ensure that we're staying within those guidelines proposed by the council, and so that we are responsibly investing taxpayer dollars. The current budget that we're in, we talked about a lot of those investments. The current spending affordability guideline for this budget is 4.79% growth. That growth applied to our underlying operating budget is $114 million. Of that $114 million, 42% went into salary increases for our employees in Baltimore County government. 31% went to that increase to Baltimore County Public Schools. 5% went to CCBC to invest in their programs and tuition free. 18% went to active and retiree healthcare benefits. So that leaves only 4% of that new money was actually spent on anything that's new. And if we take a deeper dive into that new spending, This is how we have more crossing guards at our crossing intersections. It's an additional investment in employees. We created what we think is actually one of the first in the country, student loan debt relief for county employees. So if we have employees also coming in with student debt, we now have a program where we will help pay for student loan debt. We are investing in additional turnout gear for our firefighters and especially our volunteers alike, those high call responders, so that they don't have those carcinogens on their equipment. We stood up a new medical duty officer program within our fire department, and we had an additional position to focus on agriculture in Baltimore County. But as you can tell, of that growth, very little new things. And I think the message is we do not expect the number to even be the current rate. I suspect that the council will adopt a spending affordability rate that's going to be lower than that. I don't want to conject what it ultimately will be, but all that is to say is we want to level set, and we want to be sort of realistic about what we can and can't do in this budget ahead. There will be new investments, but I think that we want to continue with investing in our people. We want to deliver on the projects that we've already worked with many of you on. And if there are other new needs, we'll evaluate them, of course. But I want to just sort of be honest about our capacity to take on particularly new large projects. I think I talked about that. Oh, we're going to that. Okay. Yeah, we talked about inflation, keeping on schedule with our current projects. Again, we will try to continue to find ways to spend pay-as-you-go. These are the one-time dollars that we've had in the past that really, I think, have supercharged a lot of our capital construction, including a lot of the important work that we've done with the revolving loan grant fund, traffic calming, some of those small park programs. We want to keep finding ways to have high impact with the dollars we invest while we're continuing with some of the other big promises. There's $300 million of current total capital needs in just general government. That does not account for school construction needs that have been requested of us and of the state. So just to put things in perspective, our current PAYGO number was about Director Reed, $150 million? 175, which is one of, if not the largest PAYGO infusions that we've ever done in the county history. So lots of need. We want to try to keep all of our projects on track, but just want to give folks a sense of what we're up against in the year ahead. Okay, with that happy news, this is the budget timeline. We're going to do our town halls through March. I submit my budget to Chairman Patoka and his colleagues on April 11th. They will review through May, and they have to adopt by May 31st. I don't share all of that, again, to depress anyone or to discourage anyone. I say it because we want you to be part of finding solutions as we continue to make those critical investments. And so I just want to thank you again for coming out. At this point, I'll invite Chairman Patoka back up to join me, and we look forward to turning the floor back over to Director Remmel from Community Engagement, who will instruct how we can hear from you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, good evening, everyone. So we are going to go ahead and start with our budget testimony portion of the evening. We have 2 microphones located here in the aisles. We ask that if you are speaking tonight and sharing your budget-related priority, that you go ahead and line up behind these microphones. Look, everyone went to that one. It must be the good mic tonight. So we have this one as well, and we will go ahead, and this lady in the blue here, she is going to go ahead and go first. So just to kind of give a little housekeeping here, tonight you do have 90 seconds to share your budget-related priority with the county executive and the chairman. There is a timer here. This timer will ding after your 90 seconds are up, and then we will ask you if you are still talking to wrap your question with some final thoughts, put a period on that, and allow for the county executive and the chairman to answer that. Yep, we'll get the mic down. We're going to get this one fixed. I know it was having an issue. Okay. All right. And if tonight we are unable, again, we do have to be out of the building this evening by 8:45 if we are to be mindful to our BCPS team. If we are unable to get to your question or budget-related priority tonight, we have the town hall email listed here on the screen. You can always submit your budget-related priority in writing to us, and it will be reviewed during this budget cycle. So we will go ahead and get started. Thank you guys so much.
Good evening. My name is Zoe Foster, and I'm an 8th grade student here at Sudbrook Magnet Middle School in the Theater Magnet program. I'm also Baltimore County's Commission on Disability 2022 Student of the Year. I am here this evening to speak to you about my experience with the Hippodrome Foundation, Inc. I remember when my mom first told me about Camp Hippodrome and how honored I felt when I was chosen as one of the students to participate. My experience was amazing. It first started where we got free tickets to see Disney's Frozen. The education director, Mrs. Barb Wurzing, made sure in advance that there was wheelchair-accessible seating reserved just for me. My mom and I thought the show was fantastic. The first day of the camp, I felt so welcomed by the staff, and it was very organized. I had the opportunity to meet so many other students who also have a love for theater, like me. I felt very comfortable right after the first day acting, singing, and dancing in front of people I just met. I had the opportunity to receive professional instructions, coaching, and provided feedback. I also was able to ask questions too. I learned so many techniques and used many of them to my recent high school auditions with hopes to get into George Washington Carver Center for Arts and Technology. I auditioned to do a solo monologue during the camp called See Me by Daniela Alma, and even had a mini solo part singing Ease on Down the Road from The Wiz, which I got to perform during a finale performance on the Hippodrome stage. My experience with the Hippodrome Foundation didn't stop there. We had a guest speaker, a former NFL player, Joel Campbell from JP Morgan Chase, to talk to us about financial management and gave us Financial Journal. I was invited to a Jingle and Mingle event and recently had the opportunity to attend a virtual musical theater master class with Selena Nightingale, who recently just finished traveling with the Broadway tour of Disney's Aladdin. I would like to close and say Hippodrome Foundation, Inc. has been a life-changing experience for me, as it allowed me to learn more about theater arts, to perform and people to see me as an actor, not just my disability. So I'm asking the committee to please approve the foundation's funding request for FY25 so they can continue to provide amazing opportunities for students like me to get experience in professional training in theater arts. Thank you.
Awesome. Zoe, you are amazing. Thank you for that. We're very proud that Hippodrome is part of our Arts and Sciences grantees, and looking forward to reviewing their submission this year. Thank you so much.
Good job, Zoe.
Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Lucía Islas. Soy la presidenta del Comité Latino de Baltimore.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucia Islas. I am the president of Comité Latino Baltimore.
Estoy aquí una vez más para pedir que el condado destine fondos para garantizar que los miembros de la comunidad que no hablan inglés como primer idioma tengan igual acceso a los servicios del condado.
I am here once again to ask that Baltimore County assign or allocate funds so that people with limited English proficiency are able to access county services.
Demasiados miembros del comité no pueden acceder a recursos valiosos del condado, como desarrollo laboral o recreación, porque los departamentos no ofrecen servicios de interpretación.
There are many comité members that are unable to access valuable county resources such as workforce development or recreation because the departments do not offer translation or interpretation services.
Con demasiada frecuencia, nuestros miembros mantienen a sus hijos en edad escolar fuera de la escuela durante unas horas para ayudarles a pagar los impuestos del condado o encontrar recursos para iniciar un negocio.
Too often, our members are keeping school-aged children from school so that they are able to assist them in paying county taxes or finding information to start businesses because of the lack of language services.
Por favor, les suplico que destine recursos para aumentar el acceso al idioma en el condado de Baltimore. Gracias.
I humbly ask that you please allocate funding so that language access is a possibility in Baltimore County.
All right, good evening. My name is Dr. Kim Paz-Tucker. I'm Executive Director of Gunpowder Valley Conservancy. I'm also here on behalf of the Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance. Gunpowder watershed extends over most of Baltimore County, touching almost every county council district, including this one. I'd first like to start by thanking the county executive and the county council for the recent reinstatement of both the County Rural Legacy Program and the County Agricultural Preservation Program. Additionally, I'd like to thank the county executive and the county council for their ongoing support of the Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance, including, is this working right? Including funding for the office space, funding and the office space at the Ag Center. I'm here today to speak in favor of additional sustained funding for land preservation and increased open space. Preserved land provides clean drinking water, open space for recreation and improved quality of life, fresh local foods from our local farms, reduced cost of government services, protection for wildlife, and more. Rural legacy funds have been used successfully by Gunpowder Valley Conservancy and other local land trusts to purchase easements, and it's essential that these funds continue to be available to, for local land trusts, particularly as state funding will greatly be reduced this year. Residents overwhelmingly support open space. A 2021 study conducted regarding program open space concluded that 90% of Maryland residents support continued funding of state land preservation programs. So today I would like to ask that Baltimore County continue efforts to fund the county rural legacy and agricultural preservation programs by committing a minimum of 1% of the capital budget, increase funding for county rural legacy area to $500,000 each year, and I have this as a handout. I can provide that. I'll see the rest of my time. Thank you.
And so I don't have the exact number, but if you want to connect with Director Reed from the Office of Budget and Finance, I know that we have grown our referenda number every year we've been in office together for open space and ag pres. I'm projecting to do that yet again. I don't know if that's the 1% or not, but it will be another increase over what's been in the past.
Good evening. My name is Garo Verheyen. I'm the president of the Lake Roland Nature Council. I'd like to start by recognizing the members of our board who are here in attendance tonight, as well as those who are participating virtually. I wanted to address the Reimagine Recreation and Parks initiative. I'll start out by commending the county for its initiative to modernize the Department of Rec and Parks. The concern that my board has, and I believe other boards, and this has been communicated to the Department of Rec and Parks over a number of conversations, is the way in which this has been rolled out with little to no warning before two town halls at the end of December. And there's been a number of, I would say, robust conversations about this. And what I would request is that any significant and especially revenue related changes be put on hold until we can have enough conversations, gain an understanding of all of the legal and ethical reasoning that goes behind these changes, and develop a methodology for rolling this out constructively, collaboratively, so that it works in the best interest for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like you're already convening with Director Smith and some members of the team. I will make sure that my executive office also is a part of it. Okay, very good. Thanks.
Good evening. Hi, Renee Hamidi, Valley's Planning Council. First of all, I have to thank you for your commitment to land preservation. The county is well on its way to preserving at least 80,000 acres, due in no small part to the money you have committed to preservation programs, including the Ag program and the County Rural Legacy program. I'm asking you to continue funding preservation. It still accounts for just a fraction of 1% of the budget, much less than neighboring counties. I'm also going to ask you to continue your commitment to fixing the sanitary sewer system. It's long past time for the 2005 consent decree to be satisfied. I know you don't want to be the guy people blame when sewage spills over into local streams. Thank you and thank you for your hard work on the county's behalf.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Bollinger, and I'm the president of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association. The fire and EMS system in Baltimore County is broken, and it's falling further and further behind in funding. With CPI numbers ranging from 3 to 8%, budget increases of only 2% put a big strain on the volunteers, as these increases don't even cover the costs of increasing fuel and utility prices. So the only way we can meet our budget is by taking money away from companies for their maintenance, supplies, and other items in order to meet the rising fuel and insurance costs and utilities. And although we are very grateful for the monies that you've talked about, the $1.75 million helps us buy new medic units. We need to replace 4 units a year in order to maintain our revolving schedule to replace every unit on a 7-year basis. Unfortunately, the cost of replacing those units has gone up 35% over the last 2 years, so we are currently facing another issue where we can't replace enough units under that $1.75 million. And it has taken all the money out of the loan fund, which would be used for engine squads and trucks, because we haven't put in any money to cover those. We've used all the money for medic units. We continue to do numerous studies of our system. They all say the same thing. We are understaffed and underfunded. We did the VFIS study, the Baltimore County Efficiency Study, the Fire Department Facet Study, and now we've done the After Action Review and the MOSH report, and all of them say the same thing. There's a critical need department-wide for funding increases. The safety of all personnel, volunteer and career, is in jeopardy without funding. Please help us find a way to fix the system before it's too late.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you. And County Executive, at the beginning of the meeting, I was asking for different communities to make noise that represented themselves. And I want to ask everyone in the room to make some noise for our volunteer firefighting companies. Make some noise. Thank you.
Buenas noches. Quisiera pedir, aunque hable inglés, quisiera pedir que me lo traduzcan porque para el beneficio de las personas que están viendo la grabación.
Even though I speak English, I do want to have this interpreted for the people that are watching at home.
Mi nombre es Susana Barrios. Soy la vicepresidenta del Círculo de Justicia Racial Latina y miembro del Grupo de Trabajo de Nuevos Americanos para el Gobierno del Condado de Baltimore.
My name is Susana Barrios. I'm the vice president of the Latino Racial Justice Circle and a member of the New Americans Task Force.
Estoy aquí para pedir que el Condado de Baltimore establezca y financie una oficina de asuntos de inmigrantes con fondos y personal adecuados?
I'm here to ask that Baltimore County establish and fund an Office of Immigrant Affairs with adequate staff and funding.
Esta oficina promovería el bienestar de las comunidades inmigrantes, recomendando las políticas y programas que faciliten la exitosa integración de los inmigrantes en el condado de Baltimore.
This office would advocate and advise on policy matters that would help integrate the immigrant community into Baltimore County successfully.
La comunidad de inmigrantes continúa creciendo y es esencial que el gobierno del condado pueda apoyar su integración.
The immigrant community continues to grow in Baltimore County, and it is essential that the government support and help integrate this community.
Muchas gracias y quiero agradecer de que están ofreciendo interpretación esta noche.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank you for offering interpretation services.
Muy buenas noches. Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es María Brito, yo soy de Guatemala, vengo a representar la indígena.
Good evening, my name is Maria Brito. I am from Guatemala, and I am an indigenous woman.
Vengo a contar un poco de mi experiencia como personal y de mi comunidad que está sufriendo.
I'm here to talk about my own personal experience and my community's experience that is suffering.
Aquí estoy para contar de lo que me pasó con los hospitales y clínicas y muchas veces que yo voy en clínica y no nos atienden.
Oftentimes when I go to hospitals or healthcare clinics, I am not treated. This is an experience that I've had many times.
Porque no tenemos un seguro médico y por eso es que nos cuesta que nos atienden.
Because we lack health insurance, hospitals and clinics are not treating us.
Puede ser que nos atienden, pero cuando uno está grave, entonces ahí sí, como experiencia mía, yo he estado en el hospital cuando yo ya estoy grave, entonces yo me voy en los hospitales, pero me llegan los biles muy altos.
Only when it is an emergency and life and death am I able to be treated at hospitals. And after that, I get the bills, and they are exorbitantly high.
Puede ser que yo me cure de mi enfermedad, pero a la vez me enfermo de preocupación de pagar los biles de 2,000, de 1,800.
While I may heal from the illness, I get sick again over thinking about the bills, $1,800, $2,000 at a time.
Y muchos de nosotros estamos presentes aquí para luchar y que nos ayude también, que nos ayude con un seguro médico para que todos podamos ir de confianza en los hospitales. Lo primero que piden es seguro médico.
Many of us are here tonight to ask you to please help us with access to health care, health insurance. Many of us are here to ask so that we are able to be treated when we go to hospitals.
County, is this on? Good evening, Mr. County Executive, Mr. Chairman. It's good to see you both again. My name is Jeff Bonner, and I'm the chair of the Baltimore County Commission on Veterans Affairs. I'm joined this evening by our vice chairman, Mr. George White, in the back there. As you know, Baltimore County has the third largest veteran population in the state of Maryland. Over 42,000 veterans call Baltimore County home. And our mission on the commission is to advocate for those veterans and connect them to resources through education and outreach. This year, we're asking for $7,500 to do that mission. And while we will accomplish many things with that, I'd like to bring two to your attention. Both of those are in close support with the HHS department. First and foremost, we look to have our second annual Veterans Day celebration and a resource event in partnership with Towson University. Very much a success last year. We look to build upon that for this year coming up. And secondly, a very important initiative we look to take on this year is a veteran suicide prevention program and bring that into the county. That's going to bring federal, state, resources to establish a veteran suicide prevention program here in the county. As you may know, veteran suicide rate is 57% higher than it is for non-veterans. So it's very much an issue that we would like to address inside the county to support our veterans. We look very much for your support in doing so. And again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me? One, two, one, two. Yeah, you can hear me. Hi, my name is Jasenia Melendez-Clark. I am on the board of the Pikesville Township, and I have two items that I want to talk about, two areas. We represent about 220 members in our community. The first topic has to do with raised sidewalks. So a lot of us in the neighborhood have young families, and we like to walk to the park. We're so thankful for the pocket park at Church Lane. But we often will walk to maybe the Sudbrook Pocket Park, and there are no sidewalks, no raised sidewalks. So we're asking for raised sidewalks from Reisterstown Road through Sudbrook Lane, through the park. We also know there was a study, or we were supposedly funded for a study last year, but that we know of, nothing has been done yet. So wondering if someone could look into that as well to see whatever happened to the study for raised sidewalks in our area.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, the second area or subject was traffic. So I'm not sure if many of you know, but the Bedford Avenue and McHenry Avenue intersection has only one stop sign, and we're looking for a four-way stop sign because there's been a couple of accidents there. It's also just a hazard to even walk through that area because cars are flying by. And in general, we're looking for potentially speed cameras. We understand that the police department is understaffed at least 25%, but if we could at least have security cameras in the road, that would be great to help decrease the speeding in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
I'll work backwards on speed cameras. It's a lively conversation piece in some communities. Currently, the county only has authority to put speed cameras in school zones, which we've basically done at school sites. The legislature is currently considering a bill in the House and Senate delegation for Baltimore County that would expand that authority to basically be at the approval of the county council. We support additional authority. We obviously would want to work with communities, but we wouldn't just place cameras outside of school sites. But if given that authority on cameras, we would work with you and any other community that had interest. If Director Walker, if you could sort of stand up and wave with your team over there, we can get you an answer, if not tonight, soon after, if you want to just grab Director Walker over there. We'll get you an answer on the study and on some of the traffic issues as well.
Thank you guys for your
Could I just add, I want to piggyback on the county executive's remarks. So House Bill 58 is will expand our authorization for speed cameras. And I will say that the number one issue that I hear from every community in this room is speeding. My neighborhood is not a raceway. Aggressive driving shouldn't take place in my neighborhood. And so the way to do it, I firmly believe that speed cameras change behavior. It changes driver behavior. The bill failed last year. So it's really important to reach out to your state legislator to ensure that they are voting for expanded speed cameras. And I see Cheryl Pastor's representative right there. So make sure that Cheryl knows, Delegate Pastor, knows that, that this is something that's important. I hear it at every meeting, so I know it is. And the other thing you mentioned was Bedford and McHenry. So is that the intersection right where the post office is?
Yes.
Okay. So we know everybody's racing to get their mail into the post office. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Well, hello, everyone. You may recognize my name, you may not. I'm Ms. Benson. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you in person. This brings up one of the issues that I'd like to discuss, the frustration that residents face when attempting to get reasonable solutions to problems from county employees, I guess you want to call them. One of the perfect examples, I own the house right after this school. You're familiar with me in my emails, and I'm sure you probably will recognize my name, Benson. My first request, or not my first request, but first I was told to contact property management. Then turned around, I was told to contact Board of Education, maintenance. Then I was told to contact Board of Education. Then I was told to contact Bureau of Highways. Then I was told to contact Land Records. When it was all said and done, guess what? It's still an issue, and I still have no answers. The main issue with this one was recognizing and finding out who owns properties that are going downhill and causing my property to lose value because it's getting destroyed. I've literally had trees fall on my property, bust through the house, this corner section of the woods, nobody seems to know who owns it. I don't mean to rant and rave, but it's cost me physically, mentally, and definitely financially. That comes up to one of the other points that I wanted to bring up as far as some of the funds I think need to be contributed to retraining or having updates provided to your workers because everybody seems to think it's somebody else's job. Seems to go to another department, and you still don't get any answers. I also wanted to touch on trash cleanup. We all have that issue also. Now that the school's being built behind my yard, all the plastic and everything else from that construction side is visiting. I'm sorry if I'm ranting and raving and going on, but I have a lot of issues that I have experienced, even down to just recently having surgery, because my son and I have been removing trees and branches from Campfield Place so that the cars coming through here do not get hit or run into these branches. We've also had to remove them off our property and pay to have trees cut down. Speaking of traffic calming, we had no car notes in my family for 20 years. Now decides speeding through. Our car was hit from our mailbox down Campfield Place and totaled. So now that's financial. We have a car note. So traffic calming, you put the wires down, people slow down, then they go over them. I'd like to thank you because the speed bump was put in. But we all know, and I'm sure you're going to touch on it, the speed bumps are exactly that, a bump. They are a joke. I'm sorry. They are a joke. People just kind of, I watch them. I have a bay window that I look at all the traffic going through Campfield Place back and forth. I'm very concerned because these students here, there's no sidewalk on one side of the street. There is nothing protecting these kids. The other thing that's going on is with the traffic cameras, you want to make money for all of these different things we're trying to take care of? Put those cameras there. When people have to start being accountable for their actions and paying these fines and tickets, you'll be surprised how much they slow down. Traffic cleanup, I've been cleaning up along this woods for years. I'm sorry, but I am tired of not getting paid to clean up the county and in the backyard. So can we get somebody that knows that that's their job? The drainage. I have a sewer drain in the back of my yard that everybody that's come from the county doesn't even know who owns it. So it's never been cleaned in 20 years.
We want to make, ma'am, we just want to make sure.
Yeah, I know. So,
I want to, part of it is, so Mandy is Alonzo's our deputy director, Mandy's
okay,
our director of
keep it
community
moving.
engagement.
Thank you. Oh, and I took pictures of this.
We
so
want to
I-
we want to make sure we have your information because what I wanted to say in response to, first of all, this is our job and that's why we're here. So we want to hear from you, the good, the not so good, and everything in between. Part of what I like to do in situations like yours, when people want to pass the buck, is we have our executive office convene all the stakeholders. So I know property management is over there, and so Deborah Schindel is happy to talk to you tonight. DPWT can talk to you tonight. I don't know if we have the BCPS represented by anyone to talk about property issues tonight, but we will convene the folks you need tonight from our side. And if there are more people you need to be part of the conversation, Director Remmel, Deputy Director Williams will help make sure that we just bring everybody to the table and we'll find out who's responsible and working to find solutions.
Suggestion? You mentioned the trees. I did get those for my yard. Can we do a tree removal project? If we can plant new trees, can we remove some of these 20, 30, 50-year-old trees that are falling down on our houses? Thank you. I'll talk to you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not leaving my house.
Can you hear me? Hi, good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Kathleen Resnick. I'm president of the Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company and a proud 32-year member. The Baltimore County Fire Department, including career and volunteer members, is one of the largest departments in our area, but has a significantly lower operating budget. The last study Sue mentioned was the Facet study. This study was paid for by the taxpayers of Baltimore County. This study found many insufficiencies within the Baltimore County Fire Department. The overall volunteer fire system needs significant support from Baltimore County. I stood here 1 year ago tomorrow bringing up the same concerns with no positive outcome for the volunteer fire companies over the past year. In reviewing my notes from last year, I read a powerful statement from the report that I'm going to read again. Overall, the Baltimore County Fire Department lacks sufficient fiscal, physical, and human resources to accomplish its core mission. Additional funding is required to consistently meet national standards and, as importantly, the service level expectations of Baltimore County residents, businesses, and visitors. I think that says a lot. This is important as the 29 volunteer stations in Baltimore County save the county over $60 million per year, and there's still no change with the lack of a fire rescue academy in Baltimore County. The Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company, as well as other volunteer stations, have had to resort to performing their own training without the assistance of the Fire Rescue Academy. The Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company went as far as building their own training prop for bailing out of a building in an emergency. This prop has been utilized by other volunteer and career companies due to the lack of available training. The money that could be going to new fire trucks and operating costs now has to be shared with the training for fire companies. Training is important to keep all volunteers safe and current. Without the funding, it is more difficult to keep the volunteers relevant and operational. This week marks the Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company's 127th anniversary. Myself and all our members want to keep the Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company here for another 127 years, but we need the funding to accomplish that. I'm asking the county executive and county council to correct the significant deficiencies within the Baltimore County Fire Department to protect the fire and EMS personnel and all the citizens we serve.
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Dave Truax. I volunteer at Chestnut Ridge Station 50. I also volunteer with Baltimore County Adopt a Road. So my priorities are a little different, but obviously public safety, police, fire, EMS. Secondly, open space, traffic calming, clean roads. With the kind of belt tightening that you guys are talking about, budgets are limited. The people that are here in this room, kind of speaking to the choir, but it's a little bit up to us to get a lot of this stuff done. So, fire prevention, have a smoke alarm in your house. Have a plan for when there's a fire. Take care of yourself. So you're eating right, you're exercising. If there's litter on your property, clean it up. Don't speed. Encourage your family and friends to obey the law. Things like that. We as a community can come together to help with some of these things so that we're not depending on a limited government to do these things. We can help do these things ourselves. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Hello, my name is Glenn Resnick. I'm the Chief Officer of the Pikesville Volunteer Fire Company and past President of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association. I'd like to thank you, County Executive, for the opportunity to hear our budget requests and your support over the years. I'd also like to thank our Councilman Izzy Patoka for your unwavering support of the fire service and public safety. You've been consistent in your support of the fire service and tirelessly engaged in representing our community in the beautiful 2nd District of Baltimore County. We understand the problems of lean budget years, but in recent good years, the Baltimore County Volunteer Fire Association has been very small growth in our budget numbers. The fire and EMS system in Baltimore County is in trouble and is falling further and further behind in funding, which is becoming evident in the lack of service we are able to provide the citizens we serve. Even more concerning is the safety of the firefighters and EMS providers in the trenches every day. 8 years ago, the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association companies signed an agreement with Baltimore County to allow the county to bill for EMS services on their behalf in exchange that Baltimore County would cover all EMS expenses for the volunteer fire companies. We appreciate the EMS unit replacement fund, but as you heard from President Bollinger, $1.75 million is great, but it's not enough. We can only replace 3 units. We need to replace 4 units to maintain safe and effective operations. We also need to cover many other EMS expenses that staff maintain. The revolving loan fund has not had an increase in many years. Therefore, we had to eliminate lending funding for capital building and improvement projects. Now volunteer fire company buildings are in need of major renovation or repair and unable to come to the loan fund for help. We need to prioritize apparatus replacement over buildings. You heard from President Bollinger about the particular cost for the apparatus. Just one in particular is the one in Pikesville. 21-year-old Tara Ladder, one of 2 in Baltimore County, $1.8 million. It's going to take 25% of our funding, which is about a little over half of what we have in reserves, and then $1.4 million from the loan fund. After numerous studies of our systems that all say the same thing, we are understaffed and underfunded. In 2014, the VFIS study paid for by the volunteer companies acknowledged this. The latest Baltimore County efficiency study paid for by the taxpayers acknowledged this. The Baltimore County Fire Department facets report paid for taxpayers acknowledged this. The recent after-action review of 3-alarm fire acknowledged this, and last week the MOSH report acknowledged the funding. The safety of the fire department personnel in both volunteer and career are in danger without increased funding. When firefighters are in trouble on a fire, we call for a mayday. County Executive Olszewski, Councilman Patoka, we're calling for a mayday. Help us fund what's been lacking for years. Please support our budget. Thank you.
Thanks,
Well,
Glenn.
stay safe.
Yep, and then we can take that too. So, and again, if anyone's not able, I just want to make sure that we've got about 30 to 45 minutes left. I do want to make sure we get a chance to hear everyone's voices who's still online. So if we could try to be as close to the minute and a half as possible, and if you have additional follow-up, I promise our staff will take it and listen to you. So thanks.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Good evening. I'm representing the Villanova Community Association, and we have 3 problems I'd like to present. One is a serious problem with speeding on certain roads that do not qualify for the installation of traffic calming devices because of the topography of the road or large traffic volume. The most effective options available to control this problem are increased policing or the mobile speed notification devices. Speeding needs on the police force and the small number of mobile speed awareness signs limit enforcement opportunities. We request that the counties purchase the solar-powered mobile speed awareness signs to ensure that each a precinct has at least 5 available to deploy where and when needed. These devices have shown positive impact on decreasing the number of speeding vehicles. The next problem we have is lack of street lighting. Our community is very old, was established in 1910, and the lots are large, the houses sit back about 50 feet from the road. Our community has 12 roads, each with unique lighting situations. However, 95% of our community does not have any sidewalk or paving, and we are lacking lights. We have at least 3 streets where there is only 1 light and 1 block where there is none. This concern is further amplified by the fact that the southern end of our community is adjacent to a park, making the darkness even more enticing for potential wrongdoers. Addressing the street lighting issue is of utmost importance to ensure the safety and well-being of the community, and by installing additional street lights on each road, we can effectively deter criminal activities and provide a safer environment for all our residents. Real quick, our last one is to enhance the wellness of the community and preserve the park. There is a walking trail near the entrance of the park at 790 Milford Mill Road, and we're requesting that there be a study to extend and upgrade the walking trail, and also to extend it so that it goes down to Buckingham Road. This will be a 1-mile extension, and it can accommodate bikes and walking. This will allow people to potentially walk from Pikesville all the way down to Lockern if this trail is extended.
Great.
Thank you very
so much.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and if you could, again, if you could make sure that we welcome also having your actual, if that's testimony, if you want to give that to us as well.
Okay.
I do believe that Director Smith is over there, and that might be a good conversation with both he and Alonzo. If you want to help point out Director Smith and Director Walker between the trails and the rec amenities. I also think that street lights are usually and typically handled through BGE, and that's usually a petition process, if that is still the case, with the community. And we're happy to connect you with our BGE contacts on the street lighting. Thank you.
Good evening.
I'm Tom Fekete, Chair of the Pikesville Revitalization Committee established by you in 2022. As a committee, we are greatly saddened by the death of our champion, Howard Needle, just a few days after the groundbreaking at the Armory. I personally mourn the loss of a friend. We want to make sure that the county budget continues to reflect support for the revitalization plan. Among the action items listed in the plan, there is an exciting visionary proposal for the creation of a retail-focused pedestrian promenade along Foley Lane. To date, with the support of our local architect, we have obtained an initial visionary rendering of the concept. We recommend that the budget support the revitalization of Pikesville Business District with funding for a consultant feasibility study to identify the level of commercial interests and the opportunity, as well as to evaluate further design options through further design renderings. Second, we also would like to request upgrades to the entrance to the alley shops, a historic part of our shopping district which is badly in need of upgrade, including just signage and a proper entrance into this unique and arcane shopping arcade. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Aaron Barnett, president of Powhatan Farm Association. I'm here with our newly formed organization, the Woodlawn Presidential Council. I have President Roberta Herndon here from Gwendale. Jason, stand up for me, Jason, from Seton Hill. Ms. Florine back there from Robin Hill Association, I'm sorry. And Ms. Rosa Griffin from Gwinoke Association. There are several issues that we have to talk, and I know we don't have a lot of time because I'm already down to a minute. The construction project, resurfacing was one of the main things. We've been hearing that in Powhatan for several years now. The Windsor Mill project, several projects that we've been hearing at all the town hall meetings that were in the plan for this particular year. So, you know, Izzy has heard it from us. You know, there are a lot of concerns in the community about the rehabilitation of our streets, our roads. We just want to know what the timeline is, when you're going to get to them. And on a separate note, real quick, I also represent Rec and Parks as well. And we did the expansion, which is great, to the senior center, but you all know, you've been to the community center here in Woodlawn, is in desperate need of renovation. So if you could possibly set some of that budget under new monies for that particular thing, then that would be a great thing for us because the kids in Woodlawn could definitely use it. And also under new money, mentoring. We have mentoring programs that we would like to have you guys reach out to us for. Ms. Roberta wanted to say one thing real quick, and we're going to go on.
Thank you for all the work you've done and the information I just heard, which is about street lights for our community. And I will get in contact with your office to get that contact with BG&E. BG&E is a very hard operation to get through for lighting. Thank you.
Right.
Yes,
and in closing, just want to say, the young lady elaborated on that earlier about communication in Baltimore County. I mean, I ain't gonna say it sucks, but it's hard. It's difficult, so we got to work on that, all right? Thank you.
We can always be better. I just wanted to, a note, Aaron, on your point about, I know it was resurfacing generally, but on sidewalks in particular, we want to do all those. I talked about some of the challenges with state funding. Even when we are able to fund projects, a lot of times there are right-of-way issues. So we need every single resident who lives along the corridor to work with the county to allow us to do a small purchase of that right-of-way. That takes a lot of time. It's a lot of legal work. It's not that we're not doing it. So if you don't see action immediately, the money is there to do it, but it just usually takes a lot of time. And then once you have the properties, actually constructing takes additional time. Our Public Works and Transportation team is happy to answer any specific questions.
Good evening. I'm Deb Patterson, a member of the Pikesville Revitalization Committee and president of Pikesville Township and PCC Associations. I want to follow up with what Jesse said. We're requesting extra money for more speed cameras. Also, $600,000 was budgeted last year to replace the decrepit planters along Reisterstown Road. No money has been spent to date. So when are we going to spend that money for new plant and tree-filled planters? Tree pits alone are inadequate replacements. Let's allocate additional resources to address the derelict properties along Reisterstown Road that are counter to every revitalization effort. These vacant and unmaintained commercial buildings and storefronts have an adverse effect on the existing businesses. We would like code enforcement to identify and schedule proactive inspections in order to hold the owners accountable for maintaining their properties according to code and safety standards. That would mean that tall grass, weeds, and trash would be proactively identified, cited, and corrected before citizens have to complain over and over. Included here are the properties we're all aware of: Slade Amico, 600 Reisterstown, Tyvek, Boarded Up 301, Warren Square, Oddfellows 1307, the Old Ballston Market. We also need additional resources to address and/or shut down Howard Johnson's Motel. It is a known crime magnet. Let's do this to support our businesses, most of which do not own their own buildings and should not be negatively impacted by those property owners who neglect theirs. Thank you.
Here, here. Director Lafferty, would you be able to talk about, is that your money? Is that in your budget, your department? Steve, are you here? I can't. Steve, do you have the Pikesville, the tree stuff, or is that a different department?
Yes, we do have some resources in our department, yes.
Okay, so code enforcement would be Director Gutwald. If you want to sort of make sure that you were, I just would encourage folks, if you have code enforcement issues, to talk to Director Gutwald. We have, because of feedback, expanded our code enforcement program. We've hired additional officers, although clearly we always want to do more and try to be more proactive as well. And yeah, so thank you.
Good evening. I'm Barry Nabozny. I'm the president of the Dumbarton Association. I'm representing the entire community this evening, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for spending your evening with us. As you can see by this drawing, I'm going to come by. I have a loud voice. I'll take the mic for a second. Our community has a stream that runs right through it. We've asked for our culverts to be replaced. They get flooded out every time there's a rain. In fact, on January 9th, I believe, our last rain, fire department could not get through Fairway. They had to close it. The police came to close it. Could not get through Overbrook, right, because it flooded out. But you did replace the culvert on Barton Oaks, and it worked. And you could get by. In the past, you couldn't. So we've asked for it to be replaced. It's been budgeted before, but somehow it never got done. So we're asking to put it back in the budget. We're asking our culverts to be replaced. We know it works. You've done Barton Oaks, did a beautiful job, and we greatly appreciate it. Also want to thank you for the trees that you just planted in our community. We very much appreciate that. We asked for speed humps. We spoke to Keith Link back in June of 2023. We never heard back. We have low water pressure ever since he relined our water lines, and we greatly appreciate you redoing that. But now our water pressure went from 60 psi to an average of 40 psi. We've reached out to Lauren Buckler, but haven't heard back why we can't get our water pressure back. Thank you very much. I'll keep my minute and a half.
Yeah, thank you. That was very efficient. Again, if you want to connect with Director Walker, who's the head of the department, we can sort of have a conversation about all those issues and figure out where we are on those. Thanks.
I like your assistant, Barry.
Yeah, that was good. You had good assist there from Carlos.
Hello, my name is Susan Williams, and I'm now the co-president of the Pine Ridge Association. Thank you very much for honoring Howard. I'm one of the people that has to take up the mantle from, which is a hard job. I'm also on the Pikesville Revitalization Group as well. There are 4 items that we'd like focused on. One is in your master plan, there's a hiker-biker trail that runs from Owings Mills, kind of roughly aligning with the metro system, and we would like to see this go into planning and implementation, and there's a great place to start where you already own the land right along Sudbrook, in Sudbrook, near the metro station at Old Court. Number 2, for street calming, this is another one of Howard's that he had fought for a long time. We also testified at the state hearings. We want speed cameras on Old Court Road where people drive 60 miles an hour, and most of our neighborhood people have either almost been hit or have been hit trying to turn into our neighborhood. We would like to see the funding, commercial revitalization funding for Pikesville. We really need decent streetscapes in that area, especially in the central node. And I'm a planner. I have 50 years' experience planning, master planning, implementing plans. So we're all ready to help. And then finally, sidewalk improvements. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Susan? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Councilman.
I was going to say to anyone who's driven on Old Court Road, there's lots of speeding that goes on, but everyone slows down where that state trooper lives because his car is outside. And so it does change behavior when you have a deterrent. Thank you.
I know Barry is talking to DPWT now, but both for his benefit and for the benefit of the crowd, we talked about the speed camera legislation that we are encouraging folks to talk to. There's also legislation in the General Assembly. This gets to the vacant properties. We want to do more locally in terms of code enforcement, but there's also legislation in the General Assembly that would allow local governments, excuse me, allow local governments to do a differentiated tax rate for vacant properties. And so that is legislation that I also very strongly support and would encourage community members to talk to your delegates and representatives so that we can charge a different rate for those landlords and owners who are not doing the right thing by allowing their properties to remain vacant and not have vibrancy. On the differentiated rate, absolutely. We can have our community, if anyone signed up, we'll include a follow-up that includes links to both legislations, pieces, yeah, of course.
Hello, my name is Eob Werku. I'm an Owings Mills resident. I'm here to mention my concerns reading the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. In particular, there's a section listing the high priority projects of the county. It's just a few miles of paths, and yet there's at current funding levels is projecting something like a 20 to 30 year time span for completing them. Even in the accelerated budget funding, it would be about 6 years to complete that. Existing out of a car in Baltimore County is a miserable and humiliating experience. When I lived in Woodlawn, I would walk on the median of Security Boulevard because there was no sidewalk and it felt a lot safer than walking on the shoulder. And that was just to go from my apartment complex to the closest bus stop. The amount of the projects highlighted in the master plan are nice, but unless they're funded, unless they're actually implemented, it's just going to be a drop in the bucket, and most residents will never see it, and will never notice an improvement to the county. I want residents who don't own a car or who don't want to use their car or who don't want to drive to have alternatives, reasonable, realistic alternatives that are actually usable and that feel safe. Baltimore County, just this year, in 2023, we've had 28 pedestrian deaths, almost a third of all car-related accidents and crashes. We need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Dave Ginsberg, Executive Director for the Armory Foundation, and one of our board members, Dean Rundell, self-proclaimed most important board member, I just want to say, and neighbor of Izzy. But I just want to talk about the Armory for 1 second, which is, as you know, you were at our groundbreaking. We start construction in 6 weeks, which we're very excited about. This project is very real, and it's literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take 14 acres, 260,000 square feet and 6 buildings and revitalize Pikesville and the entire Northwest Corridor. So we just encourage Baltimore to please put us in the 25 capital budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and let me honor Dean Rundell, who is president of the Sudbrook Park Association.
Hi, my name is Kristen Zeminski. I'm with 1,000 Friends of Pikesville. I'm also with the Revitalization Plan, Streetscape and Design, and with the Pikesville Armory Foundation. We want to bring spending dollars into Baltimore County. We want to attract young families and homeowners to take root in beautiful District 2 in Baltimore County. How do we do that? The fastest growing industry in the U.S. is tourism and artist tourism. We are asking Baltimore County to please staff your arts and science program, to use the Maryland State Arts Council funding to create an arts hub, to fund the Pikesville Armory Foundation, to match the state, to create an economic driver for that northwest corridor, to fund Pikesville's first placemaking consultant to be a destination. That will make Baltimore County and Northwest Baltimore County a reason to visit and a reason to stay and spend dollars and keep them in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kristen, I would encourage you to see Abby over there. She's our Deputy Director for Economic Development and has a lot of passion about the things you talked about, tourism and promotion. So if you guys could connect as well, that'd be great.
And Kristen is also the president of Colonial Village, right?
All the leaders in the house tonight. We love it.
Hi, I'm Patty Mokel. I'm on the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association. And one thing I've been doing since I joined is I've been leading volunteers to cut down invasive vines from mature trees. If you drive through Baltimore County, it's shocking what's happening to our trees and to our open areas. And we did a survey in our own community, and 1,000 people answered the survey and said they really cared about invasive vines. We also know each other, and so we sent out a survey and found 120 county residents and 15 organizations in Baltimore County who contributed over 2,500 hours removing invasive plants from county properties this year. So what we're asking isn't money. We want you, if you can, to form a working group to help weed warriors who want to volunteer, who want to save our environment, but we have trouble figuring out who in the county owns what property. So we need a working group that would maybe have a list of the county properties and what agencies run them. And then we think perhaps this working group could meet once a month and decide how they're going to vet and do volunteer hours. But we want to do the work. So we're going to send you a letter.
That's great. We actually had a new volunteer portal launched through our Department of Aging. And so actually Director Riley has a staff member who is sort of dedicated to sort of facilitating, I think, these kinds of conversations. So not your typical agency when you think of volunteerism, but actually Aging has done tremendous work. And so if you want to connect with Laura, we'll make sure that her resource actually connects with you to do some follow-up there.
Okay, wonderful.
So,
Thank
great.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Jeffrey Budnitz. I'm here in two capacities, one as a board member of the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association. We just submitted our latest community plan that was adopted and approved by the planning and the county council pending the 2030 plan completion. In that plan, there is a section addressing flooding. The entirety of the district from as far northwest as Hare Sinai and as far east as Delaney Valley Road drains down through the Ruxton community and under the bridge in Lake Roland. The intensity of flooding over the last several years has become exponential. In the last 5 months, we've had Baltimore County Fire Fast Water Rescue extricating people off of Ruxton Road out of their vehicles. Part of that is due to a blockage that exists in Roll and Run, and we have found that there's a donut hole where we're asking resources to be provided to DPWT and DEPS to work collaboratively to be able to go out and solve that, because right now that enormous blockage is something we're going to be clearing on a volunteer basis once the water warms up. Second part, I'm in here is my Lake Roland capacity. I asked people to stand. I asked the 1,100 attendees virtually to stand if they could. And from that standpoint, I echo Garrow's concerns. I very much would like to see the department funded at a much higher level on an operating basis under Bob Smith's leadership. But that being said, when I looked at that challenge slide and I look at the last 2 decades I have volunteered for the county, when you can have free labor and accomplish for $1 that it costs the county $6 to $10 to accomplish the same task, that's very important going forward. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski and Councilperson Patoka and the citizens of the beautiful 2nd District. I appreciate the outstanding support both of you have given the fire department throughout your tenure. My name is John Sabiga, and I am the president of the Baltimore County Professional Firefighters Local 1311. I used to represent approximately 1,040 members and now represent approximately 870 members. Our numbers are down approximately 120 operational members. Last year, in 2023, the fire department through EMS and fire calls collectively responded to over 224,000 calls. As you know, we currently are struggling with hiring, recruitment, and retention. I know the budgetary process is currently happening, and that's why I'm here tonight. The fire department is projected to be approximately $8 million over budget in overtime and callback costs. In response, and to try and rein in this budget shortfall, the fire department has decided to close 2 engine companies daily on a rotating basis. We believe this is an unsafe and dangerous practice and needs to be stopped immediately. We need your help. We need to invest in our efforts to hire more EMS and fire personnel. We need to collectively solve long-standing problems and make the Baltimore County Fire Department the most attractive fire and EMS department in the state of Maryland to work at, where people want to start and end their careers. We have not invested sufficiently in updating and expanding our services to meet the needs of the residents and the visitors of Baltimore County. The last time we added any EMS or fire service was back in approximately 2017. The calls for EMS and fire services since that time have steadily increased. The fire department hired a third-party company to do an in-depth, comprehensive analysis on how the department operates. This analysis identified and recommended a series of necessary changes. As calls for service are constantly and consistently increasing, we need to add to our currently overworked crews by providing additional staffed EMS units. We believe this will cut response time and provide better EMS service to all volume and undoubtedly increase. As you have my sincerest obligations, both you, County Executive Olszewski and Council Chair Patoka, to collaboratively work together and solve these issues. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, John. And I want to commend you for being in constant communication and for being at the table, literally and figuratively, to want to try to find solutions with me. So I want to thank you for that. I will say in the short term, I'm talking with you and Chief Rund. You know, we want to try to find more staff, but we also have to make sure we fill the vacancies that we have first. So like, let's try to make sure that we're tackling what's in front of us. It's the same imperative in all of public safety. We're working with Chief McCullough as well and President Rose there to try to do the same imperative, but we want to make sure that we are doing all that we can for our public safety. So thank you for all that
your
you guys
support,
do.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Kahn. I'm going to wear 2 hats tonight. The first is as president of Ruxton, Riderwood, Lake Roland Area Improvement Association. As Jeffrey Budnitz just noted, we need your assistance as it relates to the maintenance of Roll and Run. We as a community and a community association have spent many hours with Patty Mokel's group clearing that, removing what we can remove from Roll and Run, but we have significant damming that's occurring both on the Thornton Road side as well as on the Ruxton Road side. Most recently, in the August storm, we had 3 rescues on that Ruxton Road area because of heavy flooding caused by major damming in that area. We contacted Highways. We were advised they don't have the equipment that they need in order to be able to help us maintain and clear that waterway. We need your support to get that done. We'll be happy to show you the amount of damming that's occurring. It's extremely significant. Second is, as president of Lutherville Volunteer Fire Company, and also I chair that loan committee that we've been talking about. We appreciate everything you've done. We appreciate the fact that our medic units are covered, but you for the career fire department have replaced all the apparatus. You know what that increased cost is. That cost for an engine has now gone from $600,000 to $833,000. That cost of a ladder truck has gone from $1.2 million to $1.7 million. And we haven't received any direct funding into our loan fund to help us offset that cost. The volunteer stations today have to come out of pocket for 25% of that money. So for an engine, it's $200,000. For a ladder truck, it's over $400,000. Yeah. We need to be able to legislatively be able to fund 80% versus 75%, bring that number down, and continue to fund that loan fund.
Just a quick thank you. Just a quick question. So on the maintenance piece, is it that if we were able to give DPWT some of the maintenance equipment, is that something, and you would just want them to like partner with you, or you look? I'm just trying to get clarity. As a community group, you're looking to like
major construction to clear some of that damming. So they're going to have knowledge and expertise.
To have
but
it-
we can
have it
support
and
some of
not
the
use it.
lighter, and we've worked with the Lake Roland Council
Yeah.
to bring in and move some of the trees there, but if
Okay.
you take a look at the amount of damming
Yeah,
that's
it-
occurred, silt, trees.
Trees are pretty heavy,
overgrowth,
yeah.
it's completely blocking it, especially at that Circle Road and the Ruxton Road area.
Okay.
But it's also silting up on the Thornton Road side as well.
That's very
So we want to
helpful.
maintain that. We want to keep, throughway for water to
Yep.
continue to drain. But at this point, it's really being held up at those locations.
Okay, very helpful. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
It's like standing in line at Disney World. Sorry. Good evening, County Executive and Councilman. It's nice to see you. Good evening, community members. It's nice to see you as well. My name is Helen Groves. I'm a special educator and an SEL teacher at Campfield Early Learning Center right up the road. As I was hearing all of the names of the communities, I was going, oh, I know people in that community. I've got a child in that one. I've got a kid down the road there. So thank you. I am also a member of the Board of Directors of the Teachers Association of Baltimore County. Educators and families appreciate the support and the record funding for our public school system within the last few years. We also thank you for your support this fall as we worked alongside BCPS to negotiate a record or a historic 3-year contract that was ratified by our union's members this month. Our contract focuses on effective recruitment and retention of high-quality educators in order to increase positive experience and outcomes for students and families. Superintendent Rogers presented a budget that prioritizes this contract, as well as fulfilling the requirements of Maryland's blueprint, including expansion of pre-K and community schools throughout BCPS. We simply ask for the continued support of the County Council as you review that budget, and that's it. Thank you.
Oh, hello, good evening, everyone. My name is George White, and many of you already know that I serve on several community groups. However, this evening I am speaking as a stakeholder in the Pikesville community and as the outreach coordinator on the board of Woodlawn Senior Center, which I'm proud to say has over 1,400 members. As you already know, the public transportation in Pikesville, Woodlawn, and Liberty Road communities is in need of an upgrade or expansion. I strongly believe the residents of Pikesville and Woodlawn and Liberty Road area would like to see this expansion of the current bus system. I believe expanding the current Towson bus loop system in our area would greatly benefit the community. The proposed bus loop expansion will provide reliable and efficient mode of transportation for residents to communicate to work, school, and our senior centers and other destinations. Additionally, it would help reduce traffic congestion and improve quality by encouraging the use of public transportation. I urge the local officials to consider our proposal and work towards implementing a transportation bus loop in our community. I thank you in advance for your consideration and support. George White. Also, I heard the county executive mention the lot funding. I just want to know how can we but help increase that lot funding.
The lots funding, yeah, which is what's used for the
Right.
loop that you mentioned. So I'll say Delegate Pasteur and the rest of the delegation, Delegate Stein, Delegate Cardin, Senator Hedelman, are fully supportive of our efforts to try to advocate for more lots funding, at least a more equitable distribution, but ideally we know that fighting other jurisdictions doesn't usually work. We're just trying to have the county be more equitable. I would write a letter to the Secretary of MDOT, Maryland Department of Transportation, Paul Wiedefeld, and I would copy Governor Moore to just let them know how important that is as an issue so that we have the resources to expand our locally operated transit services. And I
Okay.
appreciate you doing that.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Good evening. I'm Carrie Lassner. I'm Vice President of the Greystone Community Association. I'd like to start by thanking both the councilman and the county exec for your attention to Woodlawn Village, and I'd ask for your continued support on that project. We're also asking that you increase the litter collection along Dogwood Road, especially where Dead Run runs. This litter is not only unsightly, but makes its way into the waterways and collects daily there. To take some of the burden off of the police department, we're asking for a private contractor to be hired to monitor and enforce the 2-hour parking limits in our business area of Woodlawn Village, and enforce the no loitering. And we're asking that that also could go into the surrounding communities. And we're also asking, and this is a big item, and we realize won't happen overnight, but we're asking on the revitalization areas that the communities that surround these areas be revitalized as well. These lack the infrastructure for on-street lighting. We're often told that you can't bring lighting because all the electricity runs behind our buildings. Our sidewalks do not connect, and our vehicle traffic inhibits pedestrian traffic. With projects such as a Red Line in Woodlawn Village, we want to foster a pedestrian-friendly environment in these areas. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Hi, my name is Paul Abrams. I'm a lifetime resident of Mount Washington Summit Park neighborhood. Good evening, Councilman Izzy Patoka and County Executive Johnny O. Okay. Okay, I'm here speaking today to ask Baltimore County to save and repurpose the old Summit Park Elementary School building. We know that a new replacement school has already been completed and placed in use on January the 2nd, 2024. From what I understand, the new school will handle in excess of 700 students. The old school only handled up to maybe 300. The county determined that the old school would cost too much to enlarge, modernize, and bring it up to current school codes. The old school was in use for about 54 years. My parents spent their taxpayer money paying Baltimore County, which builds the schools and maintains them. I learned that much of the land, if the school is demolished, will be used for just additional parking and a water runoff pond. Okay. Summit Park residents, as well as past alumni, would like to see the old school repurposed into a viable community center for use by all citizens of all ages. Elections can still remain in the old building as well. The school can be used for art shows, concerts, local musicians. The classrooms could be rented out. But modernizing the old building would cost some money, but the county is, from what I hear, is spending over $1 million to demolish the old school. Why not spend half of that and renovate it and modernize it so the community can use it for their needs? Okay.
Hello, Mr. County Executive and Councilman Patoka. My name is Bernadette Body, and I'm a volunteer with Court-Appointed Special Advocates of Baltimore County, otherwise known as CASA of Baltimore County, a nonprofit that works one-on-one with children and youth from infancy to young adulthood while they are in foster care. I'm here to talk with you about the services especially needed for older youth ages 16 and older as they age out of foster care. Our request for funding for a youth engagement specialist through the county budget. Briefly, foster care is for children and youth who are removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect or the death of a parent or guardian. Once removed from their homes, they go through the Baltimore County court system and are placed in homes and foster parents or group homes. There are over 600 children in foster care throughout Baltimore County each year. Court-appointed special advocates is actually written into Maryland law, so it's the only nonprofit organization authorized to provide individual mentoring and advocacy as part of the welfare and court processes to foster youth. We work in partnership with DSS and the courts, but we are separate, complementing their work. As a CASA volunteer, I serve a sibling group of 3. The youngest child I serve graduated from community college. She ultimately desires to further her education to become a police officer and serve her community. Our children need emotional support and assistance with available resources as they age out of foster care. I believe in CASA in a youth engagement specialist position, and I hope that funding for this position will be included in in the budget this year and budgets going forward. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, County Executive and Chairman. My name is Jason Glenn. I represent Seton Hills community, and I'm talking with you today about tree removals. A fellow neighbor who came up earlier spoke about establishing a tree removal program. My community, unfortunately, is surrounded by conservation land, and we just recently completed the reserve study, which is mandatory for HOAs per se in the state of Maryland, and I think across the country, if I'm not mistaken. We're asking for help. We've been reaching out to Baltimore County just to get assessments, to assess dead trees, to assess how long they're living, to assess, what type of emergency those trees or conditions they may be in, so that we can prioritize and remove those trees properly. These trees cost roughly $10,000 or more to remove. It's an extreme financial burden that my community and my fellow neighbors cannot handle alone. So we're asking you to put money in a budget to establish some form of program, at least to assess and then at least to offer partial financial help to struggling communities who deals with this issue. Last year alone, we could not remove all the trees because we just simply didn't have the funding. Therefore, it was left to individual neighbors to fund this themselves, which we struggle to do. So $10,000 a tree is a hefty cost, and we're asking your help.
Thank you, Jason. And just real quick, so are these trees on public or private properties?
Well, that's why we asked for the assessment, because even that is
That's
difficult
part
to.
of it. Director Tablata, I saw you earlier. HT, are you still here? Brady's up. Brady Locker is our Deputy Director of Environmental Protection and Sustainability. Because of feedback, we actually have expanded our forestry division pretty significantly. So we should be able to have folks be able to come out and assess trees. And Brady can also work with the folks who can sort of figure out ownership, et cetera. So if you want to connect with Brady, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening, Council Chair Patoka. Good evening, County Executive. My name is Norita Phillips, and I represent the Woodmore Community Association. Our major concern is traffic calming. We have two major streets, thoroughfares in our community, which are Essex Road and St. Luke's Lane. We are asking that the cameras, oftentimes the cameras are only supposed to be in school zones. Is that correct? Okay, so we need those cameras way before the school zone. I know that, I believe it's 100-foot range. Is that correct? And so people know that 100 feet, and then they go on to their bad behavior in driving. So to me, cameras, they're good, but they're temporary, and people know how to work around cameras. My request is that we have four-way stops on Essex and St. Luke's at Brompton and Yottaruba, and a three-way stop near the school at Elba Drive. That is to calm that speeding.
Thank you. And I would, again, Director Walker and her traffic team is over there. So if you want to just introduce yourself to Director DeAndrea Walker, and we can, part of the review of these requests is sort of there's traffic engineering, et cetera, but we're happy to have our teams take a look and work with you in the community.
So hopefully we'll get something to happen.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sure you know me. My name is Andrew Levine. I'm president of the Baltimore Humane Society. We've been around for 97 years. I have spoken to the county for the past 4 years that the animal welfare laws, and most of the laws are written in the 1960s and have not been updated since. Nothing. It's been on the table for 4 years, and there's been no movement whatsoever. Montgomery, every other county is way ahead of where we are at this juncture. One area, for example, if people have 3 dogs, right? Let's say they get 4 Chihuahuas, they have to build a kennel. It's just archaic. Montgomery County, for example, Howard County, they don't even have limitations anymore. The list goes on. At the Humane Society for years, we handled many things for Baltimore County. They just took it away for no reason, helping them. For example, licensing. Just one day they called and said, no, we don't need to do that anymore. But yet it's still on the website that you need to license your dog. The purpose of licensing is if your dog gets lost, people could identify with a tag. That is very old. Now everyone has microchipping. It's just, everything is so archaic, but I'm not getting any traction. Nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to get it done. You need to get it done. It's just getting old, and the majority of people who live in Baltimore County are animal owners. So really, we need to get it wrapped up.
Yeah, well, Andrew, I'll just say I appreciate all your advocacy and partnership. I thought I saw Samantha O'Neill. Oh, she's in the hall. Someone want to grab her. She and I don't know if Dr. Branch has someone from Baltimore County Animal Services here, but we will make sure that between Sam and Dr. Branch, we get you connected on things like, hi, Sam, can you wave over here? Okay, very good. I think you might know Andrew, but we'll talk about things like licensing on our end, and then obviously legislating on the laws is going to be more of a Chairman Patoka conversation.
Yeah, Izzy had some ideas, but we need to get it done. It's just been going on way too long.
All right, thank you. Last but not least.
Yes, thank you for your advocacy and partnership as well. I know this takes a lot of effort. I can't believe how many people turned out, which is great. I am here. My name's Miss Davis. I am a concerned parent. I live in the Pikesville, Mount Washington area. I've lived there since 1995. Moved from DC. This is basically my home. My concern is the safety for our students in the schools. In the last 6 months, we have had a dead body show up in a trunk at Pikesville High School. We have had, just this last 2 weeks, Pikesville Middle School, there were students who came in with weapons. They were dealt with 7 police cars. My son was there. I was very alarmed that happened. We also had our principal for public Pikesville High School be in the news because of AI. Now, this is a problem that is beyond our local area, but it happened here. It could happen locally, it can happen regionally, it can happen nationally, internationally. It has huge ramifications and consequences, and we're not seeing anyone address it. I saw an interview with Lester Holt and the CEO of Microsoft, and he basically agreed, yes, this is a problem that needs to be dealt with, but I'm not seeing any action or solutions. So I'm asking that you would take this up. Wherever you go on your journey and path in life, if you could help us find a solution to protect the families, the safety of our children, that's a priority. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, especially for those who stayed to listen to your fellow community members, my hat tip to you for both participating but also listening. Thank you again to Erica and the entire OCE team for coordinating and organizing tonight. Thank you to the department heads for being here. Most importantly, thank you to the community leaders for showing up. I hope that you know that our budgets try to reflect your values and your priorities. We try to balance and make sure that we're making investments across the county and all the places that matter, but these conversations matter. So thank you to my partner, Council Chair Patoka, who I'll give the last word, and then we can wrap tonight.
So thank you, County Executive, and thanks to everyone here who's stayed through the entire time. To Mary Ann Ferguson, I want to apologize for not acknowledging Paul's Crossing because many of us parked in your neighborhood tonight. And we'll be clearing out shortly. But anyhow, thank you, County Executive. Let's give the County Executive a hand for coming out to the beautiful 2nd District of Baltimore County. And thank each of you for being thoughtful to your community and thoughtful to your neighbors. Have a great night, everyone.